I didn't plan on making a second video on Watchtower secretly using horror movie images from the Ring and Grudge movie. But this has happened before where after I release a video that my subscribers start pointing out a lot of different things. And some of these things I feel are necessary for me to actually have to do a follow-up video because I don't think these things should be ignored because it adds further evidence that Watchtower is a demonic organization and that this stuff is deliberate. There's no way that these things are coincidence. So I'm going to get right into this video because again, I didn't even expect that I would have to make another one of these videos, but apparently this whole Lot's wife thing is just flooded with all types of evil horror movie images. So the first thing that I want to start off with, I also want to say that for anyone that has not seen the last video that I did, titled Watchtower Caught Secretly Using Horror Movie Images, you definitely want to watch that first because this video is just more of a follow-up. It's not going to get in depth as the last one did. So you definitely want to watch that video before you watch this one if you haven't seen it. So this is the first thing that I've noticed is so this is a scene from the Ring movie, and this is the American version of the Ring, the first one. And I mentioned in the last video that this ring shape is very significant with this particular movie. And of course, Watchtower had subliminally used this ring image also in their depiction of the story of Lot's wife. So what you can see in this photo from the Ring movie is that this woman is staring, in this case, it's a TV screen, and you can see the ring image that is significant to this movie. But if you look carefully at the woman's eyeball, and this is an effect with horror movie images, where sometimes when they're looking at something evil, they'll make sure that you can see that in the person's eyeball, you can actually see the horror that they're looking at. So again, this is horror movie stuff. People baptized or people raised as Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't know this stuff. So if you look closely at the woman's eyeball, again, you can see the reflection of the ring that she's staring at on the TV screen is in her eyeball. That's for a reason. So this is what I noticed after I watched my last video after I recorded it. If you look closely at her eyes, you can see the ring shape from the movie, not from the mirror that she's looking at. Now, I want to just be clear on this, that these are added effects specifically, right? The camera didn't just pick that up. And I also mentioned in the last video that this ring shape mirror that she's looking in also has to do with a reference to the Ring movie. So it's not a coincidence that this giant ring shaped mirror is what she's actually looking into. But when you look closely at her eyes, they made it a point to put the ring shape in her eyeball, just like that last picture that I showed you from the Ring movie. Again, this is something that the director in this JW movie would have specifically put in there. Like, make sure that the ring shape is in her eyeball. That's not something that camera would just happen to catch because she's looking at a ring shaped mirror. But again, this has to do with the Ring movie, right? This is why if you look on the picture of the left from the Ring movie, this is a part of this movie of looking into this ring. And it's kind of like a portal. I don't want to get much into the storyline, but it's like a portal. And as you can see on the left picture, the ring shape is in her eye. And why is that there in the Watchtower version? Because again, it's just another reference to this Ring movie. Now, as I go on, some of this stuff is going to be even more obvious. And this is Remember the Life, the Wife of Lot Part 3. This is, again, if you go to the mirror scene, so this is about 13 minutes into the video, there's a lot of weird things in the background. And Honestly, I don't even know exactly what I'm looking at with some of this stuff, but it's enough where I can see that it's subliminal and it's something evil. So I'm going to show you quite a few things wrong with this particular scene. So, um, what I want you to look at is that when I play this scene, look at the background window, and you're going to notice that when she's sitting down, it's showing us one thing, and then when she gets up, it transitions to something else. So just notice the background window with this scene.
We have to remember the wife of Lot. It didn't have to end that way for her. And it doesn't have to end that way for us. The wife of Lot.
So first I want to mention the lamp. And you notice that the lamp has, it looks like some sort of, either it's a ram horn stand, or it's like tree branches. But you notice how that lamp on the left has like tree branches or something like that as the base of the lamp. So, and the reason I was thinking ram horn is because, these people like secretly putting rams and things like that in their videos. And then the bedspread looks like, it kind of reminds me of animal fur for some reason. But anyway, uh, whether it's like a ram's horn or tree branches, that's the base of the lamp. Now, I'm mentioning that because that's going to change later on. But if you notice what I have highlighted and you look at this window, so there appears to be a shadowy figure staring out the window in a creepy way, looking like he's looking directly into her luxury apartment. Right. So I don't know if you can see what I'm seeing when I say like a shadow figure staring at her out of the window, but let me point it out clearly so you can see where I'm seeing that. Now, this also is a reference to horror movies. This is another scene has been depicted in horror movies when someone is usually like in an apartment building like this, and they look out and there's some creepy person or thing or entity that's staring at them from the building across. Like, now, if you can remember a movie that has that in it, let me know in the comments. But I've seen this portrayed in horror movies. So again, witnesses wouldn't know anything about this, but I've seen this in horror movies. So I'm going to blow it up and just take a closer look at this. Now, keep in mind that the Watchtower organization, they have their own like studios where they record their audio video centers. So this is not a real building. This is basically like a set, a movie set. Now, the reason I mention that is because if this was like filmed in like, New York City or something, and if it was like a real building and everything was real, then maybe this is an accident that while they were recording it, there was some guy just staring down out of his window like that, like a shadow figure. But these are sets, right? This is not real. So basically, why would the Watchtower organization add something like that in there? That's not a mistake. It's not real footage. It's something that was added. So the question is why? Why is there, and you can see the figure of a person, you can see the head and you can see like the neck coming down and the shoulders looking out the window. So why is that there? Now, again, Jehovah's Witnesses don't know this stuff, but this also is from horror movies. It is a scene in the horror movies when someone looks out the window and they see somebody across the way staring at them, and it's a creepy feeling. So I recognize that right away as horror movie, but the question is, why would Watchtower add that there? Now this gets more strange because um so notice the way the window looks when she's sitting down, right? You see the creepy guy staring down at her. So when she gets up and walks away, then the background changes. So as she gets up and it changes the angle of what you're looking at, now you see a completely different background. So there's two things here that really stand out, and I'm not even sure exactly what I'm looking at, but it's enough for me to put this in this video as subliminal horror movie images, even though I don't even know exactly what I'm looking at. So the first thing that I notice is that if you look towards the right side of that window, there's another like ring-shaped mirror, but it's not the same one that she's looking at. Now, some may think that it's a reflection of the mirror that she's looking at, but if you look on the right side where I made that indentation and I have the arrow pointing, you can see the way she's looking, and you can see that's the bathroom sink or bedroom sink. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, not even sink, but bedroom dresser. And you can see where I have the arrow pointed. The mirror is facing the same way that she's facing, and where the bedroom dresser is facing. So that is not a reflection of the ring-shaped mirror that she's looking into, where she sees the ghost of Lot's wife. So what is this other mirror that's on the reflection of the window? Now, what's also interesting is that this window, it's supposed to be a reflection. So if it's a reflection, why is that so bright like that? You see, they're putting emphasis on that little circle that looks like another mirror, but it's not an actual mirror because it's a reflection. But why did they put that emphasis on making it bright white like that? That's another subliminal thing they're doing, pointing some significance with that mirror right there. Now, and actually, I don't even know if that is a mirror because it's subliminal, but whatever it is, it's not the mirror she's looking into, and it doesn't fit the rest of the reflection on the window. There's something prominent about that that they're subliminally bringing out. So it's hard to even like blow up without it being completely distorted, but when I try to look at this blown up, it really just looks like something dark. And I can't explain it, but I'm seeing something that just looks very dark. And maybe in the middle, that could be like a spirit or something that's in the middle like that. But they're putting emphasis on something. And again, why is that ring so bright white if it's just supposed to be the reflection of a mirror? It wouldn't be that bright. So let me know in the comments if you know what that is and why that's there. Now, one thing that I thought of too, because again, I can't even say it's supposed to be a mirror, but in the Ring movie, there's there's certain scenes where there's all these little small like little pictures and mirrors on the wall. So I don't know if that is something related with that or not, but they're clearly emphasizing this for a reason. So let me know in the comments if you have an idea what that's all about. But then if we take a look at the other side of the mirror, now if you see where I have highlighted blue, this is where it just gets really weird looking. So if you look at the lamps in that picture, it doesn't look like the same lamps that have the tree branches as stands. Maybe I'm seeing that wrong. Let me know, but it doesn't look like it's the same lamp. But what's really weird about that is that that whole scene right there, or that reflection in the mirror, what I've highlighted blue, it looks like a very dark, evil room, and it doesn't look like the room that she's in. So when I blow it up, this is what it looks like. Now, if you can see maybe what I'm saying is that the the lamp stands or the base of the lamp, it doesn't look like those tree branch lamps or the tree branch bases that were in the other photo. But this just looks very, very dark. And again, a reference to horror movies, like what it looks like is a room where they're gonna like maybe do some sort of witchcraft or uh maybe even a human sacrifice, right? Maybe some satanic sex orgy or something like that. Like that's basically this looks very, very dark, is what I'm saying. It doesn't look like Jehovah's Witnesses, right? And what's weird about it is the fact of why even change the background and the mirror? So first you got like, you got the creepy guy that's staring down from that angle of the mirror. Um, and then you have this emphasis on this other ring shape thing that's not the mirror she's looking in, and you just got that really dark presence of that room. So, but you can see in these two images that it's drastically different. Why did they change the background of the reflection in the mirror so different? It's like both of these have load of secret subliminal things in them. So that's something weird. And let me know if you can figure out more about what they're actually showing. But clearly you can see they're showing you something. So you're going to want to watch the first video to know what we're talking about. But for those who didn't watch the first video, this scene, and you got the background reflection changing the way that it's changing. This is the scene where she sees the ghost of Lot's wife in a ring-shaped mirror. So as I play this scene, just notice that this is the setting. So you got all this dark stuff and these changes and the reflection of the mirror, and then this is when she sees the ghost of Lot's wife.
And it doesn't have to end that way for us.
You can just see like why do they have all this subliminal stuff going on in the background right before she sees the ghost of Lot's wife. So anyway, that's just the parts that I picked up on that I missed last time I when I was putting this information together. So now I want to get into what some of my subscribers have noticed that I didn't catch. So the first one is from Jackie Jacks 505. And she says, the distorted face like in the ring. So this is what she's talking about. So in the last video that I did, when I was slowing down some of these quick flashes of Lot's wife where there's hidden where they're putting all this demonic stuff secretly in the video. So they're distorting her face in a way that looks very demonic. And I mentioned before in that other video how the face distortion also is a reference to like when a person is possessed or something. It's kind of like a reference of like there's something evil inside of them, like another entity. So sometimes that's what the distorted face represents. So I mentioned in my last video how the distorted face also had to do with horror movies and something like that, but I couldn't quite really when I was making the videos, like I couldn't think of any examples of that. So what Jackie Jack said is that it's also like the Ring movie. Now that's interesting because it isn't that she just figured out a horror movie that has these distorted images. Just by chance, she mentioned the Ring movie, the very movie that Watchtower is copying, also has this thing with the distorted faces. So this is the scene from the Ring movie that has the distorted faces. So, and this is what my subscriber is talking about. This is from the Ring movie. So when you look at these faces closely and how they're distorting the faces really just by the way that they're showing the camera angle, look at this compared to now Lot's wife. And you see, this is what Jackie Jacks was talking about. It's from The Ring. It's another reference to the Ring movie, the distorted faces. This is from the movie The Ring. Nothing to do with Lot's wife. When you read the Bible, is there anything in the Bible that says anything about Lot's wife having a distorted face that looks like that? She supposedly just turned to a pillar of salt, right? Why did she got three faces in one? So, and then if you blow it up a little bit closer, and when you look at it closely, you can see like it's the exact same kind of style on what they're doing. They're just making the face look demonic and creepy by like making the image blurry and distorted like that. So that's not Lot's wife, right? All of that is basically demonic, and it's them again making another reference to the ring. And one more thing I want to say before I move on is that between the last video and this video, how many different examples of them making this look exactly like the ring and the grudge for it to be obvious to Jehovah's Witnesses that it is impossible that this is by coincidence. It's basically impossible, right? So any Jehovah's Witness that wants to keep denying is it's just a witness that wants to stay in denial because they can't handle the truth. But this is just the more we go on with this, the more obvious that it gets. So now I want to move on to another thing that was caught. So this again was by Jackie Jacks. She also says that at, or let me go back. She says at 28:50 seconds, and if you look at the table on the left of her, it looks like there's a dark figure is coming up out from behind her, which is classic horror movie scene. So when I show this again to Jehovah's Witnesses, you're not going to really see this because, as she said, this is classic for horror movies, not Bible-based literature, not the story of Lot's wife. So witnesses again wouldn't see this; they wouldn't really understand this. But what my subscriber is talking about is that if you look on the left, like right under the table, coming up from the ground from the chairs, you see like a dark smoke or like a dark cloud. I don't really know how to describe it. Kind of like a cloud or smoke or something, but like a dark energy that's coming up from the ground and starting to raise upward. Now, for those of you who can't see it, let me just uh, point it out to you. So that's what she's talking about. So when she sent me that message, immediately I knew what she was talking about because, as she said, it's classic for horror movies. So I've seen this before, I mean, in horror movies, but this is very well hidden. Obviously, the average Jehovah's Witnesses would definitely not even see that. So just to show you an example, because there's so many hundreds of horror movies that all use the same method. So there's one example that I thought of when I read her comment, to make a comparison to. So this is a movie called The Haunted, and it was a TV movie. It was never in the actual theaters, so it's not that popular of a movie, but it's called The Haunted, and it's from 1991. So I'm going to play a scene where, just as Jackie Jacks had mentioned with the Lot's wife video, you're going to see what she's talking about this like dark cloud or smoke figure coming up from the ground, and it just being classic for horror movies. You'll see the comparison when I play this. So you see it on the left side, for the average Jehovah's Witness, there's no way they're going to see that. And I'll give them credit for this. I'll not credit, but I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't expect the average Jehovah's Witness to be able to see that. But when you look at a close comparison of like what Jackie Jack said, how this is classic for horror movies, now look at it now more carefully from the movie. You can see it's a dark, shadowy like cloud, and it's coming up from the ground through the chair. Now that's just an example. They don't always come through the chair, but you can see it's even in the same way as the JW version. But it's like a dark cloud, shadowy figure, kind of like smoke or something, um, that comes up like from the ground like that. Right. So she spotted it because she is somewhat familiar with horror movies. And when she said it to me in the comment, I immediately recalled several movies that have this in it. So I was very easily able to go out and find a comparison. Um, but again, this is something that is classic for horror movies. So this is just another uh evil thing that they're adding into this video. So now I want to go on to my friend Tani Roberts, who some of you might remember seeing her on the video that we did together on on the Bethel Secret Sex program. So this is what she says. As this is my first time watching this, my jaw hit the floor. It's normalizing mental illness. If you have these symptoms, flashbacks, and anxiety, please seek help. So, this is what she was talking about by what she's saying, and I thought it was important to bring up in this video. So, there's a clear part in the Lot's wife video where they put Lot's wife in a straitjacket. And honestly, like when I rewatched the last video that I recorded, I think this is probably the strongest piece of evidence that I do have in this whole entire thing with the Lot's wife video because all the other stuff is strong evidence, but witnesses in denial, they'll just keep denying it. Oh, it's not from the ring, it's not from the grudge. You're making things up. Like they can just pretend to be blind and just ignore everything. But this you can clearly see that she's in a straitjacket, right? This is something that there is no explanation for this. It's a straitjacket. So why would they put this in the Lot's wife video? Now, so what my subscriber is saying is that basically any Jehovah's Witness that's ever been in a situation that maybe has been in a mental hospital and have had to actually be tied up like this could bring back very bad flashbacks and trauma for anyone that's actually like this is cruel that Watchtower would do this. Like, are they making fun of people who have been in a situation? What other reason would they put this in a video that's supposed to be about Lot's wife? What does Lot's wife being in a straitjacket have anything to do with the Bible? So before I go any further, because there's a couple more things I want to say about this, is that let me just play the scene again and notice how well that this is hidden, right? Because no Jehovah's Witness is going to really actually consciously see this because they're just going to watch the video and the governing body says, this is the story on Lot's wife that we're feeding you, spiritual food from Jehovah. And they're just going to accept, oh, it's Lot's wife. That's it. They're not going to, for any reason, slow down the images and see what's really going on. So let me play this clip again and notice how quick they flash this image. And this just shows you how it's secret and it's subliminal and it's hidden. They flash it so quick, nobody's going to see that unless you slow it down.
And it doesn't have to end that way for us. And it doesn't have to end that way for us.
How can any Jehovah's Witness justify this? What would be the purpose of the directors of this Watchtower movie adding something in there that's also that quick? It's so quick you can't see it. So what would be the purpose of them planting that in there? Now, sometimes when we watch stuff like this, a lot of us will not really basically understand how much work and effort goes into something like this, right? Because it happens so quick. But put this in perspective. So they got their own wardrobe and all of that stuff, right? So number one, it isn't like they just got a stray jacket in their wardrobe closet. So one, they got to order something like this. And actually, I don't even know if you can order something like this because I would think if you try to order a stray jacket, it's probably going to be a red flag because what normal person would have any reason to order something like this unless they're trying to hold somebody captive, right? So one, like, did they order a stray jacket for the scene? It's not something they would have just had in their wardrobe. Um, so I don't know. Like that's the first thing. How do they even get a stray jacket onto the property? Like why? Like that's a whole process in itself. Now, if they didn't special order this thing, then what did they make it? So someone decided when making this video on Lot's wife, you know what? We're gonna spend maybe several days making a straight jacket just to show for uh less than a second flash on the screen. So that's the first part. Is just think about the time it would take to get a straight jacket. Like why like again, this is not something they would just have in their wardrobe for their actors. So Now, regardless of how they got the straitjacket, the second thing to consider is what was the actor thinking when they told her to put it on? Because we, so remember the images, it flashes so quick, but when you think about how this is being recorded, she could be standing there for hours while they're doing her, demonic makeup and doing all that stuff. So when they're recording this, what type of Jehovah's Witness who's maybe say acting this part would actually say, you know what? Yeah, let me put this straitjacket on. Well, obviously it wasn't her idea. So what was she thinking when the producer said, "Hey, put this straitjacket on," and or I don't even think they can put it on themselves the way those things are designed. So think about so the actor's there just to play the part of Lot's wife. The director says, "We're going to put this restraint on you, this straitjacket where you can't move your arms." And that wasn't a red flag for the actor, right? Because we're told these actors are all in-house Jehovah's Witnesses that are just acting. So here's the thing: is the actor in on it? Or is this an example of how brainwashed Jehovah's Witnesses are? Like Jehovah's Witnesses are brainwashed that when they said to her when making this, we're going to put this thing on you where you can't move your arms, a straitjacket. The actor didn't even question it, right? Oh, it's Bethel, it's food from Jehovah, right? Or would she be an apostate if she questioned it, right? But see, these are the things to think about is that it flashes so quick on a screen and we don't think about these things, but that's a lot of effort to get a straitjacket. And then again, how is she going to just put that on and not even question it? Right? Wouldn't she be like, hey, I thought I came here to make a video about Lot's wife, right? Not a mental institution. So I don't know. But anyway, so going back to my subscriber's comment, this is pretty sick that they're doing. And again, it's really like it's making fun of people who've been in a situation. Right? I mean, let me know in the comments if you can think of another reason why they're doing this, but you're making fun of people. They're going to trigger back bad memories. And even though the images flash so quick that the average witness isn't going to see that, perhaps the way these things work is it's affecting their subconscious, right? So maybe a person that's been in a situation would have watched a lot's video and been affected and not have seen why they're affected because it flashes so quick, but there's no reason for this. And this is one of those situations where if you have Jehovah's Witnesses in your neighborhood and they're doing a cart, you could walk up to the cart and ask them, show them this from their website. Pull up jw.org and ask them, why did you guys put Lot's wife in a straitjacket? And this is why I think this is one of the biggest pieces of evidence with this whole Lot's wife video is the fact of there is no reason for this. You can clearly see they put it in there in secret because it flashes so quick, and there's no reason for this. It has nothing to do with Lot's wife. So it's proof it's a subliminal demonic message that they're planting in there. And at the same time, they're making fun of people who've been in this situation. So now I want to go on to read a couple of comments that I feel more important to put into this video. So this person, Jim's 4555 says, I remember when I first saw this at convention, I was surprised that they made something so dark and eerie. And I also remember thinking that the makeup didn't make her look like a pillar of salt or statue at all. Now that you bring it up, it was probably intentional to subliminally make her look more demonic. So, so this sounds like a person who basically was a Jehovah's Witness and they didn't have anything to reference it to. So this is not a person that said, "Oh, the ring or the grudge," but they noticed that there was something dark and eerie about it, right? So what they're saying is that basically now that they watched my last video, they can see that it was obviously on purpose, right? So I think that's significant to mention that just for the fact that even people who were Jehovah's Witnesses who watched this, who never watched horror movies, the dark eeriness of it is something that I think people still felt, even though they didn't have nothing to compare it to. So this one is interesting. So this person, I don't know if they're a real person. I just want to say that because the thing is, every time I make videos, somebody comes on who seems that they're a Jehovah's Witness and they try to discredit my information. Now, the reason I'm saying I don't know if this is a real person is because some of these people, not her, but some of these people, when I post a video, within 8 hours of me posting the video, I get comments like this. So it's like, are you subscribed to me? Like, are Jehovah's Witnesses subscribed to my channel that 8 hours after I post the video, they're already on there saying stuff? So I have this suspicion that the Watchtower organization pays people sometimes to discredit things. And I think the reason they do that is because when Jehovah's Witnesses are waking up and they willfully watch videos like mine, I think what Watchtower wants to do is make comments like this so that a person will go back into the brainwashing. So if they start to watch a video and start to wake up, they'll read these type of comments and go back into, the brainwashed state. Um, Not saying she is because I don't know, but I do think that a lot of these people that come on, like I said, unless they're subscribed to me, I don't see how people the same day I'm posting a video is already like commenting negative on it unless they're subscribed to me. But anyway, so she says, I think you're reaching, dude. And in the top comment, she misspelled reaching. So for those that don't know that term reaching, this is something new to me. I've never heard this until I started making XJW videos, but I think the best way to explain reaching is it's like she's kind of saying that like I'm stretching the truth or like I'm reaching, I'm trying to like make something fit that doesn't fit. So let me know in the comments if you can explain that term better. But basically what it means is she's basically saying that I'm exaggerating and I'm trying too hard to try to make this fit and it doesn't fit. I'm just basically like making stuff up is what she's saying. I'm reaching, dude. So um I want to read this other comment because I think that this other comment it puts the top comment in perspective more so. GDG 1971. So this is what they say. They say, I saw your whole piece of this that you shared with us. I am an expert in watching horror movies. I have seen them all, from the 1970s to the 2024s. I can watch every horror movie from these years, and I have watched them very often. That is why I say that I am an expert in watching horror movies. I like the horror movies of the past better than the horror movies of today. Of course, the effects are much better now, but the old horror movies are good. I myself was a member of the Jehovah's Witnesses for a long time, but was never baptized because I felt many things not biblical. Anyway, so I literally watch all kinds of movies, from horror to action and thrillers to everything. But I certainly always liked watching horror. Never been afraid of movies, and certainly not of horror movies. I find them even comical. I often have to laugh. So what they're saying so far is they're basically saying they were raised in the religion, right? They got family and everything in religion, but basically they were never actually baptized. And because they were never baptized, they were able to watch all types of movies. Unlike the person who commented, who I have on the top of the screen, who probably was raised a Jehovah's Witness, probably never watched a horror movie. So this is the part why I wanted to read this person's comment. So this is what he says now. He says, now about the movie of Lot's wife from the Watchtower. I can tell you with certainty that it is 100% horror, even devilish as horror should be. It is very clear to me horror. It has nothing to do with biblical stories. It is 100% horror and satanic devilish movie. What else can I add? Just nothing. It is 100% what we have shown. Thank you. I know everything about horror movies, expert in watching horror movies. So I won't read the whole comment. He goes on to it further, but basically, this person knows what they're talking about. You can tell by the way he's speaking, like he knows what he's talking about. Even when he mentioned a thing about the horror movies of the past, that is a thing. The horror movies of the past were much more scarier. The newer ones just focus on like special effects, but they're not that scary. But anyway, you can read this person's comment, and he's 100%. He said it like 5 times. It is definitely horror. And the thing that's interesting about his comment too is he didn't even have to specify the Ring or the Grudge because again, horror movies have a certain vibration to them. Like they all have the same type of music, sound effects, trying to make you jump. It isn't just one movie. It isn't just one horror movie. It's everything about this Lot's Wife video that he's picking up on. It's horror. Everything about it is horror. Now, not to make fun of the person on the top of the screen, but this is just why I wanted to show this comment, is because if the person on the top of the screen is real, not a Watchtower plan, if they're a real Jehovah's Witness, which shouldn't be on my channel anyway, the scariest movie they've ever seen probably is this video of Lot's wife, right? Witnesses are not allowed to watch horror movies. So, with all due respect, they don't know what they're talking about. But as you can see by the way that this other person wrote this comment, this is somebody who knows what they're talking about. Jehovah's Witnesses that never watch horror movies are in no authority to really even be able to try to say that it wasn't done copying horror movies because you got to watch horror movies to see how they're connected, to understand that the way that Watchtower portrayed Lot's wife, it is horror. Now another comment I want to mention was from JW Escape. Now, I wanted to mention her comment because she has a very thriving channel and she's been around in the XJW community for a long time. And I feel that she is one of those pillars in the XJW community for those who want to really understand like the brainwashing in the material. She breaks down the Watchtower every week. So for somebody who's waking up, you could watch her channel and see her breakdown of the Watchtower versus the way they brainwash you at the Kingdom Hall. But anyway, so she's been around much longer than I have in the XJW community for sure. But the reason I wanted to mention that is because this is what she said. So she said, thank you so much for making this video. I appreciate your perspective from someone who has watched horror films. I see a lot of what you see in this. Although I've not watched horror films, I picked up a lot from your video. Thanks again. Even though she's been around a lot longer than me, she says she appreciates the fact from someone who's watched horror movies. So she's making the point that basically witnesses who have not watched horror movies wouldn't know this stuff, right? So then she says that she's learned a lot from watching my video. So that also is like an example of needing humility in a sense of, like, say the person on the top, that's somebody who basically is just saying like, oh, I'm reaching, right? I'm exaggerating. She's not willing to maybe really pay attention to what I'm trying to show about horror movies. So what XJW Escape is basically saying is, she's learned a lot from someone who's watched horror movies. Witnesses are not in an authority to speak on this matter who haven't watched horror movies. So I just wanted to bring that out again to that person on the top that if you're a Jehovah's Witness that been in religion your whole life, you don't know what horror movies look like, period. So you're gonna have to listen to people who, and I'm not saying you need to go and watch these horror movies, but you have to take the word of people who actually watch these movies. Now, there's just one more comment that I want to share. And this I think is very important. So this person, uh Goldney 4426. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, how they're spelling that, but this is what this person says. You're spot on with their analysis of this video. I was still a JW when this came out at the convention. I thought it was like horror movie. My wife, who saw The Ring before she was a JW, actually told me then that it reminded her of the Ring movie. Sick demonic governing body clowns did this on purpose. So what they're saying is that like they were Jehovah's Witness when this came out. and they thought it was kind of like a horror movie. I don't know if they were raised or Jehovah's Witness or not, but what's significant is he's saying his wife, who saw the ring before she became a Jehovah's Witness, told him when they watched this that it reminded them of the Ring movie. So I want to play a small little clip of the last video that I did. So again, for those who haven't watched this video, you want to watch this video first before this video because this is going to give you a better idea of what's going on. Um, but what this person said is kind of exactly what I said when I recorded this video 2 weeks ago. So I want to just listen closely to what I said in connection to his comment. So I basically forgot about it. I knew something was off. And the thing about this is that the majority of Jehovah's Witnesses, they've never watched horror movies. So they wouldn't even know what to compare this to. When they were jumping up like that, they probably didn't even know why they were doing that because they're not allowed to watch horror movies. So the only people that I think would have recognized this is anyone like myself who was an adult in the world before they became a baptized Jehovah's Witness. Anyone that was raised in this religion that was a good witness, they wouldn't even have anything to compare it to. They wouldn't. And this is exactly what's coming out in the comments, right? The last thing that I said in that clip was how like anyone that was raised in this religion wouldn't know what hit them. They wouldn't have anything to compare it to, which is like the person, Christy Crab, that thinks that I'm just reaching, right? I'm just stretching the truth, right? I'm exaggerating. But then I also said, like, again, only people that are going to know this is people who were in the so-called world before they became a Jehovah's Witness who watch movies like this. And that's exactly what this guy is saying his wife said. His wife is exactly the example that I gave. Somebody who before they're a Jehovah's Witness watched these movies. And what are the odds that, again, I don't know who these people are. So what are the odds that this random person is commenting on my video and he's saying that his wife, who I don't know who his wife is, she just happened to think the same thing, reminded her of the Ring movie, right? And that's exactly what I thought in 2017 when I was still Jehovah's Witness and I watched this. I thought the Ring movie, the Grudge movie. So what are the odds of someone who I don't even know who came to the same conclusion? That's because it's based on the Ring movie. It's based on the Grudge movie. As I said in the last video, those two movies are connected. So this is exactly what I was trying to say in the last video, that only people that would have picked up on the fact that it's based on the Ring and the Grudge are Jehovah's Witnesses who have watched those movies before they became Jehovah's Witnesses. And anyone who hasn't watched these movies, like Christy Crab, has no idea what they're talking about. And I'm not saying it to be rude, but it's just when she says that I'm reaching, she's like reaching like in the middle of the ocean, not knowing where she's at, especially at a channel like mine. Like she's reaching, trying to find a life boat because she's drowning, trying to defend religion, doesn't know where the hell she's at because they're not allowed to watch horror movies. But I didn't plan on making, again, a second video to this, but I did feel that those things that I brought out were important. Because some of it is just it's too obvious that again, it's designed to specifically be the Ring movie. And some of these other things, like again, the creepy shadowy figure looking out of the window, like some of these things I don't know um exactly what they're referencing, but I can see like you can see there's a creepy guy, shadowy figure staring out in the window. And again, I'm sorry that did come. That is something also horror movie images, but say like the bedroom, that dark bedroom with the lamps, like again, I can't say exactly what it is that they're trying to show us, or that lamp, or not the lamp, the little ring shaped mirror that was also white. But all of this is something. You can see all of this. It's deliberate. And if you take a screenshot of this right here, this screen, and crop out where it says jw.org, where I put that there, crop out on the bottom right where it says the ring and the grudge. If you take this screenshot and go to the cart next time a witness are in your neighborhood, go to the cart and show them the screenshot and just say like, "Hey, I'm looking for different religions. Would you as Jehovah's Witnesses would you ever watch a movie like this?" Guarantee you, any Jehovah's Witness is going to take one look at this and say, oh no, all that's evil. Because you can see it's evil, right? You can see this is evil. But then if you then tell them, hey, well, this is actually from your website, and watch how they're completely stunned and they don't know what to say, right? Because if you ask them about this without telling them that this is their version of Lot's wife, they're going to look at this and they're going to say everything on here is demonic. Everything is demonic on here is what they're going to say, right? So show them this image, crop out jw.org, and ask them and say, would you watch a movie like this? And then tell them where it comes from and then see what they say. But when you look at all this stuff on a screen, this isn't even a quarter of what I showed in the last video. For those that haven't seen the last video, this is just a little things that were missed in the last video. But even all of this that I'm showing you on the screen, I don't know how much more obvious it can be that clearly, like this religion, like they're lying to their members, they're hypocrites, they're the exact opposite of what they say. They're secretly using horror movies when they tell witnesses that horror movies are bad, don't watch horror movies, that they're demonic, and they're putting this stuff in there. And as I said earlier, that the most convincing thing to me is Lot's wife in a straitjacket. Go up to the cart and ask Jehovah's Witnesses, why did you guys put Lot's wife in a straitjacket?
And it doesn't have to end that way for us. And it doesn't have to end that way for us. And it doesn't have to end that way for us. And it doesn't have to end that way for us.